Hey there, welcome to the channel. This is Kitakaze, and today's World of Warships video will feature a game in the Akizuki, the Tier 8 Tech 3 Japanese destroyer in the gunboat line. Well, at least that was what I had planned for today, but I just realized that my Akizuki game was from a previous patch, which I can no longer view. So instead we'll have a game in the Kitakaze, the Akizuki's big sister at Tier 9. And if anyone out there knows of a way to open up a replay from an older patch without having the corresponding game client, please do let me know in the comment section below. Carrying on, this is on the map Mountain Range and it's a tier 9 only game. Our team spawns north and I decide to head towards the A cap. I initially don't plan to take the cap, but as we can see in a bit here, I actually do push in to pick it up despite having the poorest concealment of all the destroyers in this particular game. Anyway, let's start by going over the strengths and weaknesses of the Kitakaze. I'll primarily be comparing the Kitakaze against the Yugumo, the other tier 9 IJN destroyer which is on the torpedo boat line. The Kitakaze has a higher health pool at 20.7k base HP or 23,850 with survivability expert as you can see on my ship. The Yugumo on the other hand has only a base HP of 15.5k. The Kitakaze also has much better guns since it is a gunboat. It has 8 guns, they are 100mm guns in 4 double turrets with a 3-second reload and 30mm of high explosive penetration. And this is important because if you have IFHE on your captain, this will allow you to bypass the key 32mm battleship plating threshold. The Kitakaze can also mount the same torpedoes as the Yugumo. The only major difference is you have a single launcher with 6 torpedoes as opposed to 2 launchers with 4 torpedoes each, which is what you get on the Yugumo. So your torpedo reload is abysmal. You'll have almost a 3-minute reload on your torpedoes instead of less than 2 minutes for the Yugumo. The upside, of course, is that the Kitakaze can mount the torpedo reload booster consumable on a separate slot than your smoke screen, which means every about 160 seconds or so you can actually launch 2 full salvos almost consecutively. And finally, the Kitakaze has much better AA than the Yugumo. In fact, the Kitakaze's AA is pretty decent for a destroyer. In terms of weaknesses though, both destroyers have about the same speed of 35.5-36 knots, but the Kitakaze is a lot less maneuverable and has a larger turning circle and slower rudder shift. I think the biggest kicker is that the Kitakaze has much poorer concealment at 6.1 kilometers compared to the 5.5 for the Yugumo. At this point in the game, I've successfully capped A for our team against my initial expectations. I've also launched my torpedo salvo as well as my torpedo reload booster salvo against the Georgia that was pushing in. There's also a smoke screen there, meaning it's either the Fletcher or one of the Yugumos. I am pushing away from the cap now though because there's a Riga back there as well as a Missouri, both of which have radar. The Riga's radar range, of course, is 12 kilometers, whereas the Missouri, I believe, is 9.5. So I'm trying to stay away from both their radar ranges. I do land 2 torpedoes against the Georgia, doing 34,000 damage, and a flooding which he has repaired. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slow down, turn on my smoke screen, and start to fire at both the Missouri and the Georgia. If I can get a fire or 2 on the Georgia, that would be great because at this point there's no way that he can repair that fire. And here's where you see how scary the Kitakaze can be as a gunboat. I have 1 fire on the Georgia already, and I'm firing every 3 seconds, so that's 8 shells every 3 seconds. I don't have IFHE on this captain as I mentioned earlier, otherwise you would see a lot fewer shatters or non-penetrations. But we are whittling down the Georgia. We've got a second fire, so he will definitely be going down pretty soon. One thing I am worried about is that the Missouri is still pushing up, so I don't want to stay in my smoke screen for too long. Because if that Missouri does push up and hits his radar button, he's going to catch me pretty close to him, and then I will be taking a lot of damage. The Minnesota does take down the Georgia, but because of my smoke screen and how far back the Donskoy is playing, I don't actually have vision on the Missouri, so I actually have to get out of my smoke screen here. Otherwise, it might have been useful to have vision on that Missouri and we could have reset the cap. Anyway, I'm going to turn back in. My torpedoes are about to come off cooldown, so my plan is to see if I can launch torpedoes against either that Missouri or the second Georgia that's back here. Alright, we're just going to let our smoke screen expire, and then we should have vision on both battleships. There's the Georgia. Line up my torpedoes. He is pushing in, so they do have a 12-kilometer range on these torpedoes. I launch my first salvo, activate the torpedo reload booster, and that's when the Riga pops up back there. So the Riga gets me on his radar. It is a short duration radar though, so I turn away immediately, launch my torpedoes, see if I can avoid some incoming damage. The radar is off duration. The Missouri does fire at me right before I get unspotted here. My torpedoes are out though, and they look pretty good. There's the Fletcher that had the smoke screen earlier. Right, let's see. The Georgia is turning in, so I think I'm gonna get at least one torpedo on him here. There we go. And these IJN torpedoes do a ton of damage when they do hit. That's about another 32,000 damage with just 2 torpedoes. Again, I am going to smoke up. That Georgia has repaired the flooding. So again, if we can get a couple of fires, the Georgia should burn down nice and easy. This time I try to make sure I position my smoke screen a little bit better. The Donskoy should have vision on the Georgia, while both the Minnesota and I can continue shooting at it. Now I am still worried that either the Missouri will push up and use its radar on me, or the Fletcher would launch some torpedoes into my smoke screen, so I'm not going to sit in here and Daka the Georgia as much as I would like. My Donskoy is also playing pretty far in the back, so I don't have support with radar or sonar, so I push out. I do get a couple of fires on the Georgia though, so he's gonna burn down nice and easy. Here's that Missouri. He's only 7.5 kilometers away. The Missouri does turn on his radar, and he has HE loaded, so this is gonna hurt. I return fire a little bit, at least initially, because there's no point in not shooting once I'm being radared anyway. So I give it about 20 seconds or so, and then I start to try to get out of detection and wait for his radar duration to end. I think he might get one more shell off on me here. Yeah, he has fired. We try to turn, but we still take quite a lot of damage and a couple of fires, which we instantly repair. Unfortunately, that last salvo by the Missouri also damaged our torpedo tubes, which were almost ready. So now I've got a full 2.5 minutes reload, starting all over again on my torpedo tubes. I'm also not really feeling it on this side of the map. I don't think we are getting the support we need, so I've decided to head around this side of the island and see if we can catch up with the Yugumo that was last spotted heading in our direction. I do take a couple of pot shots on the Misery just as I head out, but it looks like the island catches a few of our shells, so I'm just gonna go ahead and push around. Now our team is doing alright on the other side of the map. We do have the C cap, and our Pommern is picking up B, so if we can get B, we'll be able to wait for the rest of our team to move in and see if we can finish off the enemy team on this side. I do have RPF on this captain, which is pointing, I believe, towards the Yugumo, and I'm hoping to catch the Yugumo as he moves in towards me. Otherwise, my concealment is going to be pretty terrible and we won't be able to catch up to him. But it doesn't look like he's coming this way anymore. He might have just turned around and headed towards the C cap instead. So I decide, alright, why don't I go ahead and turn back in, see if I can provide some support for my team here against the Missouri. The Missouri is still pushing up, by the way. I decide to move in closer, see if I can smoke up and shoot the Missouri. Unfortunately, he catches me with his radar. I think that was just towards the end of his radar duration, maybe. So I have to pull out, and I'm still worried about potential torpedoes from the Yugumo, which is why you see me flipping my view towards the other side of the map to line up with where RPF is pointing, so that if any torpedoes come in, I'm at least bow into those torpedoes. So I'm gonna slow down here and see if I can smoke up and shoot at the Missouri, but I think, you know, he's pushing so quickly. This is probably a bad play by me here, wasting my smoke screen and really not getting as much damage as I should be able to against the Missouri before he gets away. So in this case here, RPF is now pointing towards the Missouri, which indicates that the Yugumo is definitely running in the other direction. Our team does successfully get the B cap, but the Missouri takes out our Minnesota, and it looks like the Yugumo takes out our Pommern. So we are 4 versus 4 right now. We do have the cap advantage, but our Jean Bart is asking for support against the Yugumo, who is headed towards the C cap. So I go ahead and acknowledge and head over to the C cap, which is on the other side of the world. So even with my smoke screen, this is going to take about 8 years. Anyone got some elevator music that I can use to fill in the time here? Our Donskoy also gets taken out as the enemy team pushes all the way north on the western flank. I'm gonna see if I can get in here and maybe catch the Yugumo. But again, remember the Yugumo does have about a 600 meter concealment advantage over the Kitakaze, so he sees me before I see him. Fortunately though, he is visible now. I do take a few shots on him, but at this point he just turns away and smokes up. I of course try to push in and chase him. He does have torpedoes in the water though, so we've got to just kind of avoid them with a little bit of torpedo beats. Now remember too that because the Yugumo and the Kitakaze have about the same speed, it's actually going to be really hard to catch up with the Yugumo, especially because my speed boost consumable is out. So what I'm hoping here is that he's turned in and expects me to go the other way around the island, so maybe he's turned in and is slowing down and backing up. I launch my torpedoes towards the edge of the smoke screen. RPF actually turns back, so I'm wondering if maybe he did slow down. And I get spotted and he is not spotted, so which means it's not a proxy detection. So instead, that really means he has gone past the edge of the island and is heading away. So that's terrible news for me. I also make a mistake here in that I should have gone back to the C cap to cap it out. Instead, I think, hey, maybe with RPF, I can chase him down, but it looks like he's evaded me and he's going the other way. So yeah, definitely a mistake by me. What I should have done is gone back to sea to cap it. That would definitely have secured us the game. Our Alaska does really well though, along with our Jean Bart, so they do take out the Missouri and the Fletcher. So now it's the Jean Bart versus Riga on the A cap. And here I'm going to try to get the Yugumo. I do chase him down and taking some shots at him. But there's only 45 seconds left on the game. And if our Jean Bart is taken out, we will still lose. So I'm going to do everything I can to sink this Yugumo. But of course he's playing it right, he's not shooting, so he's just trying to run. And there we go, that's the concealment advantage that the Yugumo has. But at this point in the game, he's down to the edge of the map. There's 20 seconds left. I'm gonna push him to the map border and see if I can force him into view. There we go. Now 10 seconds left, he's got 2000 health. Let's see if we can take him out. I really want to get this kill and secure the game. 4, 3, 2 seconds, 1. There we go, we got him. So we do get our target right at the end, even though I think I made a terrible misplay and wasted a lot of time catching that destroyer. Anyway, let's take a look at the post-game statistics. So we did 167,000 damage in this game with 1 kill. We had 4 torpedo hits and 302 shell hits, which is to be expected considering the Kitakaze is a really good gunboat. We did most of that damage up front, of course, before deciding we would go on a round-the-world tour. We received 2,419 base XP for this game, which was second on our team. The Alaska and Jean Bart there, definitely kudos to both players. They definitely won this game as they pushed into the A cap and took out the destroyer and battleship there. And for the detailed report, so we did a lot of damage on both the enemy Georgias, a little bit of damage on the Missouri as well, and of course we did take out that Yugumo finally at the end. For anyone interested, here are the equipment and captain skills I use for the ship. Main armament mod 1 and aiming systems mod 1. Gunfire control system mod 2 for the increased range. Engine room protection to minimize my engine getting knocked out. Propulsion mod 1 to get up to speed more quickly. And of course, concealment systems mod 1. For captain skills, I have priority target, last stand, survivability expert and concealment expertise, which is my standard gunboat build. I also have radio location on this captain because I find it useful in-game to run down enemy destroyers, which unfortunately in this particular case led me around the world. Other skills that I think will be useful and which I might change out once I get a 19-point captain is IFHE to boost your raw HE damage, demolition expert, superintendent, and adrenaline rush. You won't be able to get them all though, so just pick the ones that you think will be best for your playstyle. So the Kitakaze, definitely a good gunboat in my opinion, but with weaknesses in concealment. For me it feels like a really stealthy light cruiser rather than a destroyer. And if you play in divisions a lot, it could be useful if you have a more stealthy destroyer move in and spot for you in caps. And so you would just turn on your smoke screen and shoot down any enemy ships that your friend lights up. I do hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Please feel free to hit the like button or subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And please join me again next week for more World of Warships videos. Thank you for watching and take care.